Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you with the final video in the League of Votann series, for now, until Games Workshop release more Leagues of Votann miniatures. But with this one, the Cthonian Beserks, which I will be doing in the video today, that brings every single model that's been released for the Leagues of Votann so far. I have done a video for, and it's in this playlist to help you guys get your models painted and on the tabletop. So, without further ado, let's get the Beserkers done. Okay, and this is the Berserker that I went for this video. Nice open pose, easy to paint, and easy to show you guys what to do. Gave the model a coat of Chaos Black spray, Zenithal of Grey Seer, and then I got stuck in with his basically fatigue trousers, and I went with the Space Wolves Grey contrast paint. This will match him in with the rest of the Leagues of Votann army I'm doing. Out of all of the Leagues of Votann units, this one definitely stands out from the rest as just being quite a different aesthetic, as they do not wear quite as much armor. And there's a lot of skin on show, which obviously there isn't on any other of the Votann. After that, we're going to move over to Black Templar and apply this to all the areas of the miniature that you want to have black. So he's got a bunch of these like kind of padded sections of his trousers. They all go black. He gets black fatigued kind of combat boots. The casing of his big, beautiful kind of powered axe thing is also black. And then some of the power cabling and stuff on his back. So there's quite a bit on him that you need to figure out which bits of it are going to be black, and then make sure you get them filled in. Blood Angel's red contrast was then used for the minimal amount of armor. And obviously it's quite important because this is the main color that kind of matches the rest of the army. If I wasn't copying the kind of box art of these guys, I might have been tempted to do the casing of the axe in the bright red as well, just to really make it tie into the army, which is something that you may want to consider doing. But basically he's just got a kind of a midriff section of armor. I also did the shaft of the axe in that red as well. Wildwood was then used for the kind of leather belt that goes around his midriff, holding that armored gut plate in place. I will never get over how quick it is to get a miniature base coated using contrast paints. I mean, I think I got this entire model base coated in about 10 minutes. Gulman Flesh was used, well, guess it, for the flesh. It's actually here you'll realize that I didn't realize he had basically like a bionic forearm. So as I was going around putting the flesh on, I got to like his kind of wrist areas and realized that it's metallic and it's supposed to be red. So you should see a kind of a jump in the next frame, and you'll see part of his arm going red. It's actually that bit there I painted. Lead belch was then used to block in all of the metallic parts of the miniature, which actually wasn't that many. Basically just the blade of the axe. There's a little kind of ring on the bottom of the handle of the axe as well. It's supposed to be silver. And then my particular guy here has a big cranial implant. So the whole top of his head is metallic, including one of his eye sockets. So once again, it's great to use the reference images from the Games Workshop website to know exactly what you're working with when you're doing these guys. After I was done applying all of the metallics, I believe that is all the base coats finished for this miniature, which means we can now move over and shade the entire thing down. To make sure that the tones all match with the rest of the Leagues of Votann army, I'm going to do the exact same shade I used for the rest of the guys, which is going to be Rhinox Hide shade, which works out well for this guy because he's got so much skin on show. We're going to make sure that we got a nice even coat across every single section of the miniature, whether it's the weapons, skin, boots, black, blue, it doesn't matter. All of it is going to get Rhinox Hide shaded. And while that shade is drying, I'm going to get this miniature based up to match the rest of my Leagues of Votann, which is in kind of like an asteroid surface kind of grey, which is what I was going for. I think it really contrasts well with the army. After that, it's time to start the layering process. So we're going to start with the Fang, and we're going to get those kind of fatigue pants, the combat pants he's wearing, layered up with the Fang. This will add a pop of color to the bottom half of the miniature. Obviously it's just black and grey right now on a grey base. It can seem quite dull. And it was a worry of mine when I was layering this guy up, because they're missing that large quantity of red that really makes the rest of the army stand out. I was worried that these guys were going to be a little bit boring. That kind of feeling only went away when I started layering up the skin. Once I made those pop, or that pop his skin, that's what made all the difference, I feel, in painting that miniature. Moved over to Mephiston Red to begin the first of 2 highlights on the red armor. Like I said, there's not a lot of red armor to this miniature, so maybe do a nice job on it, take your time. Try not to hit that brown leather belt that's cutting between the armor panel, which makes it a pain to layer. Don't forget that little bit of forearm kind of mechanical bits, is red as well. And then very carefully across the shaft of the axe. I really should have figured out what the name of the axe was. But that's my problem. After that, we're going to jump up to Evil Sunz Scarlet, and we're going to layer up the red again, just to make it really pop. This, like I said, is going to match the rest of the range. I know it's really hard to see what I'm actually doing here because it's, it's such a small part right in the center of the miniature. And the camera, of course, is always focusing on my fingers as opposed to the actual miniature, so it's not exactly in focus right here, and I do apologize for that. After that, we're going to go up to Rhinox Hide and layer up the belt that goes around his midriff, and of course the gloves he's wearing. If I didn't mention that already, when we were doing the Wildwood contrast stage, that of course goes across his gloves. Once again, while we were doing the blue, we did all the belt loops in blue as well, so when we're going around with the brown, we want to make sure we don't want to hit any of those parts. Finally, we can get onto the skin. So we're going to start with Cadian Fleshtone. Like I said, this really takes the miniature to the next level. Really gives it that berserker feel. So I basically quickly layered up all of the miniature, all the skin. I don't know if people have that whole problem with the floating muscle syndrome where it doesn't look like the muscles connect, but I think it looks fine on miniatures. You're going to be looking at these guys from 2 feet away on the tabletop. From that distance, they're going to look fantastic. These are not competition pieces. These are not going to be entered into Golden Demon. And if they are entered into Golden Demon and you're looking at my channel to help you get there, then I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. I'm here to help you get your models painted and on the tabletop very quickly. And as you can see, if I take my time and I just focus on each of those little muscle groups, it defines the miniature very well and gives it a nice bit of detail. After that, we're going to jump up to Kislev Flesh and add just another highlight to the skin. Not nearly as heavy as the first one, just a few nice cheeky lines. Only on the most raised areas of the muscles, anything that's pointing upwards to the sky, which is going to get the most light. Of course, paying attention to his face. These faces are a little bit tricky because some of them are bionic. So when you're working up, because I honestly didn't know one of the eye sockets was metallic until kind of a little bit later on into the process, and I had to go back and fix it up. Corvus Black was used to layer up the casing on his giant big powered axe. And of course his combat boots and those padded bits that I was talking about. Just big fan of Corvus Black to layer up my black paints. The touch of grey really does make it pop. Then of course you got all the cabling and everything as well. It's coming out of his air tank or crazy tank or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. Ironbreaker was then used to layer out the metallic parts, which really is just the blade and the cranial implant thing. So with the blade, what I did was I basically feathered away, giving it this kind of a stark line, so that when I contrast over the blade with a color afterwards, it's going to give a kind of variation in color. Hopefully give the idea of it's kind of hotter at one point and cooler at the next. You can let me know in the comments if I pull that off when I throw the contrast over in a minute. So from there, Gryph-Hound Orange, contrast over the blade, which may seem a little bit crazy, but they do have these kind of like magma blades, and I wanted a very quick and easy way of achieving that, so I can get this unit painted very quickly. And with that, I'm calling this guy finished. Looking forward to painting the other 4 members of the squad and those tiny little adorable moles. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the result. Okay guys, and there we have it. One Cthonian Beserker for the Leagues of Votann finished up. I hope you guys enjoyed the entire Leagues of Votann series. If you did, make sure you give the video a like. Check out any of the other videos in the playlist as well if you're curious to see how any of them turned out. If you have any questions about the Leagues of Votann, put in the comments below and I will get back to each and every one of you guys. And if you want to help me and support me, there's 2 main ways for you to do that. 1, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really does make a huge difference. And 2, if you're interested in helping me take this channel to larger and greater heights, there's links to things like my Patreon below, which is getting a large overhaul in January. So there's never been a better time to get involved. Thank you guys so much for watching the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.